You're watching Channel 8. And now, people you can count on. Mark Garay, Charlotte Evans, and Mark Pfister. This is Channel 8's Eyewitness News at Noon.
FBI agents are looking for bodies today and interviewing witnesses as they try to piece together exactly what happened at the cult compound outside Waco, Texas yesterday. The 51-day siege ended with the apparent mass suicide of more than 80 followers of cult leader David Koresh. Good afternoon, I'm Charlotte Evans.
And I'm Mark Garay. The inferno that consumed the cult compound may have been lit after many of the cult leaders already committed suicide. There is also speculation today that some of the children were fatally drugged to spare them the pain and terror the fateful day would ultimately bring them. Judy Fornan is in Texas. She joins us live now.
This has been a tough day for federal agents here in the Waco area. Not only are they faced with the grim task of recovering more than 80 bodies from the Branch Davidian compound, but they're also deflecting heavy public criticism.
From a distance, you can barely even see what's left of the Branch Davidian compound. But for federal agents, the pile of rubble may help answer a myriad of questions. Authorities started early this morning carefully sifting through the ashes for remains and taking notes. While they're performing that gruesome task, law enforcement officials are also battling a firestorm of criticism. Attorney Dick DeGuerin, who represented cult leader David Koresh, says agents should have been more patient.
I don't understand why we couldn't have waited and let this thing play itself out peacefully instead of provoking the actions of yesterday. It was a bad decision.
The FBI is defending its decision to break down the compound's walls with tanks and then release tear gas. And agents claim cultists were seen yesterday spreading lantern fuel around the compound right before a raging fire started. They also say it was the cultists' fault that children were killed.
Those children are dead because David Koresh had them killed. There's no question about that. He had those fires started. He had 51 days to release those children. He chose those children to die. We didn't have anything to do with their deaths.
This afternoon, President Clinton said he accepts full responsibility for the decision leading to the FBI's action.
The Bureau's efforts were ultimately unavailing because the individual with whom they were dealing, David Koresh, was dangerous, irrational, and probably insane. 9
people escaped. 4 of them are hospitalized, and 5 were arrested. They were already in court today being arraigned.
Many Waco area residents were horrified by yesterday's fire here at the compound. This afternoon, a memorial service was held at a local church to remember the cult members who died. I'm Judy Fortan reporting live near Waco, Texas. Back to you.
Thank you, Judy.
Meantime, as you just saw, President Clinton is issuing strong support for federal agents and their decision to ram the Branch Davidian cult compound in Waco. During a news conference this morning from the White House, Clinton said the FBI and Attorney General Janet Reno did everything they could to avoid the loss of life. The president says he takes final responsibility for the FBI's battering rams and tear gas. And he says he's surprised that critics are calling for Reno's resignation.
Surprised would be a mild word to say that anyone that would suggest that the Attorney General should resign because some religious fanatics murdered themselves. I have directed the United States Departments of Justice and Treasury to undertake a vigorous and thorough investigation to uncover what happened and why.
Clinton said that ultimately cult leader David Koresh killed those he controlled. Well, saying their own government has pushed them over the edge, Las Vegans picketed outside the Foley Federal Building this morning in protest over what happened in Waco. Angry protesters say the government barged in on a group of people without justification, and demonstrators say if the feds can disregard the constitutional rights of the Branch Davidians, the government will eventually do the same to residents right here in our own Las Vegas Valley.
If they're going to go after any religion, is your religion going to be next? Is your church going to be next? I don't want to see that happen.
Many protesters say they never before had participated in any type of demonstration, but say the tragedy in Waco was just too much.
Rebel inmates who are holding prison guards as hostage in Ohio today have new hope of ending their standoff peacefully and seeing their demands met. Ohio state officials have agreed to change or at least review a number of prison rules. Officials have actually signed a list of prisoner demands. Authorities are also promising there will be no retaliation against rebel inmates once the standoff is over. They're asking now that the inmates bring all remaining hostages with them to the bargaining table. At least 7 inmates and 1 guard have died since that siege began April 11th. South Dakota's Lieutenant Governor Walter Miller is getting ready to be sworn in today as governor. In a matter of hours, Miller will replace Governor George Mickelson, who was killed along with 7 others in a plane crash yesterday. Many South Dakotans are trying to come to grips with their loss of a beloved governor. One former South Dakota governor called Mickelson's death an awesome loss. The small plane crashed in Iowa.
Meantime, the videotaped beating of Rodney King was the biggest piece of evidence leading to the convictions of 2 police officers, that at least according to the jury's foreman. The unidentified man, known only as Robert, told CBS This Morning that the biggest piece of evidence was the tape which showed King being beaten. He said the tape got more attention from viewers than witnesses both the defense and prosecutors presented. He also said that the possibility of rioting was not discussed by the group. There's no love lost between the ranking officer in the Rodney King civil rights trial and a fellow officer who broke the ranks. In his first interview since his conviction, Los Angeles police officer Stacy Kuhn calls Officer Theodore Brazino a rat, a coward, and a traitor. Kuhn told the tabloid television show A Current Affair that Brazino was out for his own self-interest. Brazino testified against the other defendants in the state trial last year. The tape of his own testimony was shown in the latest trial. Brazino said the other officers were out of control when they beat King.
After 20 years in charge, LA's Mayor Tom Bradley is getting ready to step down. And today, people in Los Angeles have a big decision. They'll go to the polls to choose from among a field of 24 candidates, many of whom are virtual unknowns. The frontrunner is 41-year-old LA City Councilman Mike Wu. Wu led the way in calling for LA Police Chief Daryl Gates to resign after last year's riots. Wu was not even old enough to vote. The last time residents in Los Angeles voted in an election for the mayor, which did not include Tom Bradley. Bradley is retiring from office at age 75. If you live in West Las Vegas and would like to offer input on how you'd like to see your community develop, today's a great opportunity. You're invited to see the West Las Vegas Master Plan. The long-term master plan outlines the future of the community, including plans for housing, parks, fire stations, and businesses. The master plan is on display at the West Las Vegas Library, that's at 951 West Lake Mead Boulevard. Members of the West Las Vegas Neighborhood Advisory Board are available. They'll talk with you and answer any questions. That's today from 1 p.m. to 8 o'clock tonight.
Court authorities are pushing state lawmakers to make stalking a more serious crime than what's being proposed currently. The legislature is considering a first-ever stalking law in Nevada. The bill would make stalking a gross misdemeanor if the victim is threatened with bodily harm. But the District Attorneys Association is asking lawmakers to change the proposal to make stalking threats a felony. Instead of facing a year in jail, offenders would face up to 6 years in prison if convicted. The DAs say police agencies would pay more attention to stalking cases if it were more serious of a crime. 2 ski mask-wearing robbers have robbed 8 local women of more than $500,000 in jewelry and money. Police say during the past 3 weeks, women have been approached by 2 suspects as the women enter their vehicles. Police say the robberies have taken place in the southwest end of town, mostly in the evening hours. Police say the suspects are about 5'8" to 5'10", weighing about 160 to 180 pounds. One of them may be Latin.
A man who has been an outspoken critic of UNLV President Robert Maxson reportedly once asked the president's office for a special favor. According to an article in today's Review Journal, Nevada Assemblyman Jim McGoy once tried to get a grade changed at UNLV for his son. McGoy reportedly asked the president's office to help remove a grade for a math class, saying the grade represented a bureaucratic error. McGoy says his son signed up for the math class in the fall of 1991 but could not understand the foreign instructor. McGoy also says his son's transfer to another class was not handled in a timely manner.
The home alone parents who left their children and went on vacation will be spending time alone themselves. We'll explain.
And bathing in the Buff is still not allowed in California. We'll tell you why. Stay with us.
KLAS TV recently received the 1993 U.S. Senate Productivity Award. This coveted award honors companies who develop innovative ways to improve customer service and quality. Channel 8 is proud to accept this honor, and we'd like to make a promise to you, our customers, by providing outstanding local news coverage and taking an active role in our growing community. We'll continue to work to earn your trust.
For the largest selection and lowest prices on casual dining, look to your Superstore. Nevada's largest furniture store. We're gonna save you money.
The parents who left their 2 young girls home alone while they went on vacation to Acapulco will soon get a taste of some solitude themselves. They'll be spending 1 month home alone as they're monitored electronically. The deal is part of a plea bargain for David and Sharon Shue. The suburban Chicago couple will also spend the next 2 years on probation and will be expected to perform 200 hours of community service. Their girls will be allowed to visit them and will be returned to their care within a few months. Some people who would like to sunbathe in the nude are feeling a bit burned today. The United States Supreme Court left intact, a Los Angeles ordinance that bans nudity on public beaches. Nudists had argued that they have a constitutional right to bathe in the buff and that any evil in the activity is actually in the mind of the beholder. They said the activity could be allowed with segregated public beaches, but their arguments failed to sway the Supreme Court.
News reports in South Africa say more arrests are imminent in connection with the killing of black leader Chris Hani, at least that word out of Johannesburg, which indicates more right-wing leaders may be involved. A member of a neo-Nazi group is charged with assassination. Hani was head of South Africa's Communist Party and one of the most popular and most militant leaders in the African National Congress. Heavy fighting between Croat and Muslim troops spread from central to southwestern Bosnia today. That follows 4 days of battles that UN peacekeepers said killed at least 200 people. The clashes erupted as Muslim forces were suffering an apparent defeat at the hands of Serbs in Srebrenica. Some fighting was reported outside that eastern town today, despite a ceasefire agreement. UN officials said Croats and Muslims were fighting around 3 central Bosnian towns. Combat between the two flared today in Mostar, a southwestern Bosnian city where 5 people are now reported dead.
You may have never thought a cold virus could pose tremendous benefits for your health. We'll tell you about an unusual breakthrough in the treatment of cystic fibrosis next.
And U.S. savings bonds may still be the ticket when it comes to short-term savings. Details after these words.
Rocky, the last meal's here.
Domino's? I wanted a special order.
Fine. Then what do you want on your tombstone?
Cheese and pepperoni.
Good! Tombstone special order.
Special order pepperoni pizza has more toppings than even Domino's for a taste that's something special. What do you want on your tombstone? Special order pizza.
Rocky, it's the governor. Take a message.
The boss has gone absolutely insane! J&J Beepers is selling state-of-the-art Motorola beepers for $24.99. That's right, own your own beeper for just $24.99 by calling 369-2700 right now. Our competition hates us, but our customers love us. Imagine a brand-name Motorola beeper, not some brand you've never heard of, just $24.99. Buy now before the boss comes to his senses. J&J Beepers, corner of Twain and Maryland Parkway. Call now, 369-2700. Deals this good won't last forever.
Have you seen our TV commercial?
Every day, count on the...
No, the one with the chairman.
So we turned our supermarkets upside down.
It's working, too. And Lucky has over 2,500 new lower prices to prove it. In the latest price survey, Albertsons was higher by 4.6%, Smith's 5%, and Vaughn's was 9.4% higher than Lucky. It's like the chairman says.
Sure, times are tough, so we got tougher.
You're watching Channel 8 Eyewitness News at noon.
Welcome back, everyone. A major gas leak that forced the evacuation of 5 homes in Las Vegas is now shut off. That leak occurred when a private construction company broke a 2-inch service line near Jones in Washington. As a precaution, the 5 homes were evacuated. One elderly woman was briefly placed in an ambulance, and a couple of workers needed oxygen during the process of shutting off that gas. However, no one was injured when the line erupted. Construction workers say the line was mismarked. Southwest Gas says it will investigate. About 8 homes have lost service, but Southwest says they'll get it back tonight when the line is repaired.
If you're looking for a short-term investment, U.S. saving bonds may just be the ticket. Gary Waddell explains why in today's Kiplinger Personal Finance Report.
finally able to
John and Kathy Glade are rethinking the college savings plan they just started for Rachel. Savings bonds were part of their plan until the rate on double E's took a nosedive.
What happened was the rate was lowered from 6% to 4%. Actually, that's the guaranteed minimum rate. You won't earn less than that for all bonds bought after the 1st of March, 1993. Now, the question is, are savings bonds worth it now? Are they worth
The answer depends on what you hope to achieve. If your goals are long-term, retirement or college, you can do better, much better, in growth stock mutual funds and high-quality bond funds.
However, over the short term, what's interesting is that in addition to lowering the rate to 4%, the Treasury has said that savings bonds will now pay 4% from day one.
You still have to hold them for at least 6 months, but after that, if you decide to cash them in, you'll collect 4% for all 6 months you had them.
And in addition to that, the increase in value of bonds will be credited every month instead of every 6 months. So what this means is that after 6 months, you bought your 4% bond, after 6 months, you can redeem that bond at any time and get the interest that you've earned up to that point.
These changes make savings bonds a more flexible investment, and that is some very good news.
In our next report, we'll tell you why you don't need to invest a lot of money in the stock market to strike it rich. This is Gary Waddell, Eyewitness News 8.
In other health news, there is new hope of a cure today for patients suffering from cystic fibrosis. Doctors trying an experimental therapy to fight cystic fibrosis say they are pleased with the first efforts. The procedure involves using an altered cold virus to deliver genetic material to correct the defect that causes cystic fibrosis. Doctors say if the procedure works, it offers great hope of a cure.
Almost 15% of our population uses inhalers to treat some form of asthma or emphysema, but many of us are using them incorrectly. In today's 60-second house call, Dr. Bob Lanier offers his own approach to using inhalers.
People use them all the time, but according to recent research, they don't use inhalers correctly very often. The Archives of Internal Medicine studied patients in a general medicine clinic and found that 65% of people weren't using inhalers correctly. Now, with the help of an accomplice, I'll show you how to do it wrong. First, use them upside down. That way, no medicine, only gas gets out. Then you could do the old I'm in a hurry trick and not inhale and hold. Or you could just stick your tongue in hard and watch smoke come out the top. Now here's the right way. Empty the lungs, put the inhaler up close, squirt, inhale, hold. That's right. If you have trouble coordinating the puffs, a chamber will help. Some have a sound activation that tells you when you're inhaling too fast. The other aid is a spacer that simply gets the inhaler out further from your mouth. They all work. Take your inhalers in and show your doctor your technique on the next visit. I'm Dr. Bob Lanier.
Well, how's our weather shaping up? We'll take a look outside at our forecast next.
And we'll introduce you to a former Chicago Bull who's making a difference right here in Las Vegas. Stay with us.
Today's 60-second house call was brought to you by the Cardiovascular Center of Southern Nevada.
Dr. Joseph Kaufman and Dr. Paul Herron from the Cardiovascular Center of Southern Nevada.
What bothers me is how easy it is to ignore the classic symptoms of heart disease or an impending heart attack.
I agree, Joe. Patients frequently ignore even typical symptoms such as pain or tightness in the chest, shortness of breath, or arm discomfort.
Jaw pain or indigestion, even if it goes away with rest, it should never be ignored.
This heartfelt message is brought to you by the Cardiovascular Center of Southern Nevada. If lack of money is preventing you from getting the training and education you need for a better life, call this number. Regardless of age, previous grades, or income, Academic Resource Services specializes in matching students with resources for grants and scholarships to trade school or college. These funds do not need to be paid back, and millions of dollars are made available by private contributors. Academic Resource Services guarantees to help you find college funds. Don't put your future on hold for lack of money. Call 24 hours a day. Academic Resource Services.
Hi, I'm Frank Bettis from Fiesta Motors. I want to tell you that Fiesta Motors is more than just another used car lot. We have cars from $14.95. We have many 88 through 1992 models to choose from, and we have bank and credit union financing starting from 7.9 on approved credit. So take advantage of our low overhead and buy your next car from Fiesta Motors.
Discover Fiesta Motors. Discover.
Sometimes a prescription needs a little explanation. Where do you turn for the information that's not on the label? For advice you can trust. If you have a worry, if you have a question, your Save-On pharmacist has the answers and all the time you need.
At Save-On, you can count on people who care.
In today's sports segment, we take a look at a man who's making his mark in North Las Vegas.
Scott Higgins and Dave McCann have the story of a former Chicago Bulls player and his drive to make a difference.
Quentin Daly made a good living playing for the Chicago Bulls, but the temptations off the court got the best of Daly, and now he's putting his life back together in North Las Vegas. Dave McCann has the story.
Who got winners?
Quentin Daly's NBA career is over, but his following in Las Vegas is just beginning.
I wanted to get away from the NBA to start playing in the future, doing something else.
On the court, Daly was solid. Off the court, he was weak. But he has since become strong, and now Daly works to strengthen kids.
I want them to succeed in life. You don't have to play basketball, but you got to work to succeed in life.
Daly brought this desire to the North Las Vegas Boys and Girls Club, where he has become a huge hit.
Sometimes I walk in his office, he'll have 20, 30 kids sitting around listening to these stories. You know, Quentin's little corner. And so his impact to the kids have been, you know, tremendous.
I got better with my attitude. I don't blow off at the top. You know, he just taught me how to have self-control. I would never forget him.
He is our philosopher up here. The other day I was kind of got upset about something, so he took me aside and he gave me a Tootsie Roll and told me, well, here, chew this. And he said, what this candy is supposed to be called is patience. Patience. It takes a long time to chew it.
I had a hard life in the NBA, and I learned how to stay up there through all my turmoil. So what I'm trying to do with these kids is get them to understand that you can have problems, but you can still overcome your problems and rise to the top and stay there.
Even though his NBA career is over, the kids here will tell you Quentin Daly is just now at the top of his game. Dave McCann, Eyewitness Sports 8.
Okay, that's it in sports for now. Tonight at 6, another rousing rendition of Crazy Eights. I'm Scott Higgins, Eyewitness Sports 8.
Well, our weather's been beautiful in the valley in the past few days, but our neighbors in Colorado have not been so lucky. A major storm system passed over the Rocky Mountains overnight, dumping snow and rain in some areas. Because of the icy conditions, drivers are now being warned to be extra careful on the roads. Many of the roads going into Vail Pass have been closed due to the heavy snowfall.
Neighbors directly north are having pretty good weather too. In fact, we'd like to welcome the class for Art Chalice's class from Southern Utah University who've stopped by and check out the newscast. Pretty good weather up there, not bad? All right, good. Well, let's take a look at our current conditions here locally. Things outside looking quite nice. Probably going to stop by the NAB conference too, aren't you? Temperature 76 degrees, humidity 12%, winds north 7 miles per hour. Barometers on the fall at 30.13 inches of mercury. Today, mostly sunny and warmer with highs in the low 80s, winds east 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, look for mostly clear skies. Looks like things are going to be warming up over the next couple days. No clouds really to speak of in the forecast either. Overnight lows 50 to 55 degrees, winds out of the southwest at 5 to 15 miles per hour. As we head into tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, a little bit warmer as I mentioned, highs possibly even reaching 90 degrees. So over the next couple days, as I mentioned, things could be warming up. Breezes diminishing just a little bit, just in time for summer. Really not too bad out there today.
Shorts weather.
You bet.
Sounds great. If you'd like to relive some of your childhood, a collector in Nebraska may have just the thing for you.
We'll introduce you to a man whose wooden planes of old have become his collectible Cadillacs. Stay with us.
When I get gas, I may look like this, but I feel like this, painfully bloated with gas.
Gas-X has the power to relieve gas faster than antacids.
So I feel like me again.
Painful gas needs the power of Gas-X.
If everyone were alike, if all cosmetic surgical procedures were the same, if all surgeons were equally qualified, plastic surgery would be easy as shopping generic. His credentials and experience are reasons so many patients choose Dr. Charles Vinnick for cosmetic surgery. With Las Vegas' only state-licensed and nationally accredited plastic surgery day surgery center, Dr. Charles Vinnick makes cosmetic surgery affordable and more comfortable.
Pat Laverty for the all-new Fletcher Jones Freeway Mazda.
I'm at a swap meet where people really get into the whole experience. The bargaining, the shopping, the give and take. It's fun. Just like this Mazda MX-6, the perfect blend between styling and performance. But buying a car isn't the same as a flea market, and if haggling with a salesperson is your least favorite experience, come to Fletcher Jones Mazda, where we can guarantee you the lowest price on any new car. At Fletcher Jones Mazda, we're both on the same side.
Eyeglasses, artificial lenses worn to aid vision. We don't want to take glasses out of the dictionary, just out of your life. Imagine your life without eyeglasses or contact lenses. Call Dr. Kurt Bizard, 362-3937.
If you discovered a way to control your weight, who would you tell?
Half the girls at the club.
My mechanic. Father. 9 out of 10 Jenny Craig clients would recommend Jenny Craig to their friends.
Lowest program fee ever. Each person pays only $49.50. Call Jenny Craig today.
Juana Hart joins us now with a look at some of the stories coming up tonight at 5.
Mark, Charlotte. Coming up tonight on Eyewitness News at 5, Universal Studios is supposed to be a place where families go to enjoy themselves. It was anything but that this morning when a man opened fire from one of the buildings. We'll have more details for you tonight at 5. And as the uses for credit cards grow, you need to know how to be a smart shopper. We'll have credit card tips for you. Join Tom Warden and myself tonight at 5 o'clock.
Thanks, Juana.
Remember when you were a child and you and your friends spent time playing with little wooden planes? Do you? I don't. Well, these planes had a big impact on Richard Beck's life, so much so, he now spends time building and collecting these little wonders. Reporter Ralph Wall takes a look.
Year-round, indoors or out, you'll find Richard Beck's all wound up over his hobby of flying model planes. The rubber band planes are quieter than their gas-engined, radio-controlled cousins, which suits Richard just fine.
You could go out on a nice, pleasant evening after you've had a pretty bad day and turn these things loose and watch them fly. It is a good release.
The appeal is not just in launching the planes, it's also in building them.
It's just being able to translate it from a flat surface plans to a three-dimensional form. I don't know, it's a hobby. It's just like anything, I guess, that you get addicted to it, you just can't quit.
However, Richard hardly considers himself the Wilbur and Orville of model plane engineers. Still, he aspires to be as good as some of his friends in the hobby.
I have a friend who builds ornithopters that flap like a bird.
There is a national and state club of free flyers, and to hear Richard reflect upon the hobby, it's easy to understand how the term free flyers came to be.
And as you see them fly, they're free. They have nothing to impede them. I'm kind of there mentally.
From Beatrice, Nebraska, I'm Ralph Wall reporting.
For little kids, that would be as valuable as a physics class.
A lot safer to fly, too, I'm sure. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
This afternoon, find out what everyone's talking about. Watch Geraldo at 3 and Donahue at 4, right here on Channel 8.